Okay. Hey, everyone. I hope you're having a great lunch break. Thank you a lot for joining us for this new webinar that we're hosting with Folk. And we have a great guest with us today, which is Evan, the CEO and co founder of Roundtable. I will let him introduce himself just in a minute. But very happy to have you all with us for this great webinar on how you're going to be able to raise your fundraising game. So we're going to share really great tips on how you can leverage business angels, how you can manage your whole fundraising process, and lots of surprises. So very happy to have you with us. I'm Julie, customer success at Folk, and I will let Evan take the lead from now on to start the great presentation.
Thank you, Julie, and hello, everyone. I hope you're having a great lunch break. So a quick introduction of me to start with. So I'm Evan Testa. I used to work at BCG, strategic consulting firm, for 7 years, which I decided to quit a year and a half ago now to launch Roundtable. So you have a big vision on Roundtable. We are 3 founders, and we also decided to do a partnership with e-founders to scale what we wanted to do. And today, I'm really happy to share, especially the experience on how to manage your fundraising process, especially with business angels, and how you should put a rhythm to make it a great success. So yes, that's mainly what we're gonna do in the first part. After Julie will do a quick demo of Folk, how you could really use and leverage Folk to manage your process, and I will also give you a quick demo of Roundtable. And if we have a bit of time at the end, I will also talk about SPVs. It's a harsh word for now, but I will clarify all of that for you right after.
Awesome. Just to let you know, guys, if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to add a comment on LinkedIn. I will make sure to reply live to any burning questions that you might have on the fundraising secrets.
Yeah, and on that, really don't hesitate. It's gonna make it more dynamic, more than a talk per se. Perfect. Maybe if we start, let's take just a bit of a high level. So on what are, when you are in a seed or pre-seed round, what are the type of fundraising you could do? And maybe we can go to the next slide. But typically, you have 2 types, I would say, of round in a pre-seed or seed round. It's the equity round, or what we call the safe BSR convertible note round, right? I will just make you what are the big differences between both, so you can understand. The first is, if we are taking the equity round, it's mainly first on the valuation. When you do an equity round for your fundraising, you have to have a very defined and precise valuation. And so that's why usually we said it's more suitable for a VC round. Why is that? Because the VC will help you to set up the valuation of your company, because it's always a pretty hard exercise to do. In the equity round, you will emit shares of your company, and so the investors will directly be shareholder of your company and will have directly the rights in your company right after you close your round. And so to, I would say, frame a bit all of that, you will have to do a pretty intense and detailed shareholder agreement, really, to give all the governance and the financial rights you will provide to your investors. And also the last point, it's also how you will get your funds. It's in an equity round, it's going to be in a one-off approach. So you really have to do the fundraising, have all the commitments, and at the end, you can collect in one-off all the funds you want to have. I would say in opposition, you have for the presidency round the option, I would say, to raise with a safe BSR or convertible note. It depends on the country your company is incorporated. And here it's more suitable for BA round because you don't have a very defined valuation. You will just have a range of your valuation. So when you are talking with business angel, sometimes it's a bit easier because they will bet on the fact that you will have a pretty interesting increase in the next round you will do, and so benefit from some discount thanks to the BSR. Here also, you don't have the emission of shares. So what does it mean is that the investors which will come will not be shareholder per se. They will have some rights, but they will not be shareholders, and they will not have to vote in some day-to-day instances. They will become shareholders once you do your next fundraising round. In terms of setup, is really light because you don't have to do a full shareholder agreement. Since they will not be shareholder, you don't have to frame all of that. So it's really a very contractual undertaking in the maximum, just giving the financial rights and some information rights. That's really easy to set up. And something you can have is you can also collect the fund ongoing during your fundraising. So if you are a bit short in cash, that's also a way to ensure the survival of your company, while in an equity round, you will have to just wait for it. I will stop here.
Yeah, we have a first question from Muhammad.
Yeah, so I'm just reading it. I don't know if everybody is seeing it, but so a very simple and innocent question. How do we make investors trust us and our business idea? We will have initial sales, MVP ready, but securing funds to hire more marketing team members, developers. We need funds, but these investors need to trust us. So here, yeah, you will see, I will share what is the process and how you can really convince them. What is really important, I will share a lot of tips right after. It's to be well prepared on what you manage to do before your fundraising, what are the potential to increase, and why you need funds, how you will use it. And that's exactly the way you will be able to convince your different business angel. But Mohamed, what I would suggest is I have the list of tips right after. And so maybe if you want, we can also deep dive at that time. Any other question before we move? No,
I think we're good. We can go to the next slide.
We can go to the next one. So after here, I will more focus on raising with business angel. And here I will also share the return of experience we did for the fundraising of Roundtable, because we personally raised we raised 3 million in a seed round with more than 100 business angels. In our case, it was a bit different because it's also our clients, and for us, it's a good GTM play. But typically, raising with a lot of business angels will have a lot of pros. Typically, you can access to a lot more of expertise when you are well selected the business angel, because each one of them can have a very precise expertise, which will be really useful on a day-to-day approach for the growth of your company. Typically, the operational support, I see, that's going to be your job also to animate your community of investors, because at the very beginning, they will provide capital, but they also have a lot of experience. And so that's your job to really be really clear on how they could support you. Typically, sometimes it's really just introduction to their network, and that's for you a way to develop your business and to find some interesting partnership, for example. It's going to be also operational advice. You have some investors who are ex-founders or ex-early employees or scale-ups, so they can really provide you with detailed tips on how to approach your CRM, and for that, Julie will give you a lot of tips too. But typically, they can really support you on various dimensions. So that's why, and you'll see in the tips I would share right after, is you need to be really strategic in the selection of the business angel you want to target. Don't only look for capital, look also for what I would call smart money. Is they will bring a lot of more value than just capital. And and some you can also just take them for the visibility and the marketing approach, because a lot of them can have a large audience. The cons of raising with a lot of business angel will be the difficult coordination of all of them, because you have to coordinate 10, 15, 20, 50 different people in in a particular difficult, I would say, legal and administrative process, which is fundraising funds. And so coordinating all of them could be difficult. And so you always have a choice between the number and the tickets you would accept, except if that's why we launched Roundtable, you manage to have a tool to support you on that. Typically, the second point is really blocking. It's more once you finish your fundraising round, after you will have to manage them in a day-to-day basis on all topics, I would say, administrative and legal for the governance of your company, because at some point they will become a shareholder. And here, when you have to make sign everybody for a given decision, even if it's not that important, but in terms of governance of a company, you need them to sign, it could be blocking. So that's why it's really important to always keep a clean cap table and try to consolidate them into an investment vehicle, but we will talk about that right after. And so also in terms of reporting, you have to be pretty proactive. Again, you have to do your own reporting to all your investors rather to wait them come to you and ask for a reporting, which could be pretty painful if you have to answer one by one to always say the same thing. So you have to be proactive with your business angel. Any question before we move? No, we should be good. In terms of roadmap to fundraise with different business angels. So what I was saying here, it's spend a good amount of time to prepare your roadshow. And Mohamed, maybe I will react on what you were saying. Take some time to really think about the story you want to tell to the business angel or investors. It could be a business angel or even VCs. The pitch deck is not only the idea and the potential, is really going deep in how you are sure that the business you want to tackle will take on. And on that, it's really important to take a lot of time to show that you did a big market research, you did some proof of concept, which were giving some positive insights. And so take some time on that. Data also are really important, please, because when you are just talking, giving a vision, that's our founder is working well, but at some point, always rely on a fact-based approach, because all investors, if they are investors, they are always thinking about returns at some point. And so you need to give them some data to at least make them at ease that your business will provide them with that. And last but not least, it's also your lawyer selection. Select your lawyer very early in the roadshow, because they will also educate you in how and what will be the rights you will give to your investors. Typically what we were saying a bit earlier, because it's not easy. A term sheet and the shareholder agreement have a lot of different clauses. Not easy. That's not our daily job as founders. So that's where you need to have your lawyer to just give you the big clauses and what you want to provide to your investors in terms of rights and duties. And once you are at least clear on that, it will enable you to have a proper roadshow when you are talking to business angel. Then the second is really, you need to identify the targeted business angel and investors you want to have. Exactly what I was saying before. It's they will not only bring capital, they can also bring a lot of expertise for you. So spend some time to map the investors you would dream to have at your cap table and what they could bring on the table for you. And here you will see, Julie will show you that, but you can access some investor database. We will also define one. So you will see what kind of expertise some investors can bring on top of the capital they are deploying in your round. And once you identify them, please take some time to really think the strategy of reach out. You have to have a tier approach. You have to make some waves. Don't reach out to everybody at the same time, because doing that, you will have a very low, a very low rate of answer, for example. It's more to really target it at the very beginning on some business angel you would like to have, but not your dream ones, because it's also a good way to test your pitch, to test what will be the questions they will ask and how prepared you are. And as in our business, There is no better way to see if you're prepared than launching yourself, right? So test it with some first business angel, and once you have a pretty strong pitch, you then open other waves, and there you can open the one you really dream about. Again, pretty selected at the beginning before opening to a wider range if you need more funds. So that's why really think about that. If you can, in a way or another, always ask for intro, even if an investor, when you are talking to them, I would say, are not interesting to invest themselves, they could think about someone who could be interested. So don't never hesitate to ask at the end of the call to say, do you think about any investors who could be interested in the topic, and if you can do an intro. That's always, investors will receive the tens and dozens of emails per day, so please help them do the selection. And so after you launch your roadshow, as we just discussed, on the go you can collect the commitments. So each time someone is really willing to invest, so you really collect that, and we will show you how to do that in a consolidated way afterward. After that, once you have all the commitments, you can just make everybody sign the documents and receive the funds. Typically here, between the day you launch your roadshow and the time you receive your funds, having 1 or 2 months, it's totally normal. It can be shorter. I hope that for you always, because it's always a big defocus from your business development. So that's the first point. It can also take longer, but you'll see in the tips, you need to put rhythm and do some hard deadlines. If not, you will just defocus from your business and it will not work anymore. Clear? And maybe before going to the demo, some tips. And I think I said that over the presentation, but if you need to remind 3 things, it's prepare yourself, think about that, test with people your pitch deck, and really define your targeted business angel. The tiered approach, the waved approach, really define the wave of people you will reach and how you will reach out to them. Because I see too many founders doing a large approach, and unfortunately, it's not working, especially in the business angel world. If everybody knows about you, it's not a good solution. You have to have a really incremental approach to make them work. And the last but not least, and I would say that's the most important advice I would give you, it's really the rhythm. Even if at the very beginning you start to have a lot of commitments, a lot of interest, you will always start to reach a plateau where people will say, I'm interested, but will not give you a concrete number for their commitments and all of that. So, and they will always wait to see how you are fundraising. And so once you reach, I would say, 70 to 80% of your targeted amount you wanted to raise, don't hesitate to really give exact deadlines, because you will push people to position themselves. If not, you can just wait months and months for people to position. And so that's your job as a founder, to really give all the rhythm of your fundraising. So to collect the commitments, but also in the closing. In the closing, you have to give a precise date when they need to sign, when they need to send the funds. And you need to be a bit harsh on that. If not, they are dealing with a lot of investment at the same time, so they will just not prioritize you, and you will lose too much time on this position. I will stop here if there is any question before the demo.
I don't think we have any question for now. Maybe they're gonna come later, but yeah, don't be shy, guys. You can ask for anything. And we're gonna jump into the demo of how Folk can be a great tool to help you with the whole fundraising process, the whole roadmap that we just spoke with Evan, so that you can make sure that you can identify the right investors and business angel. You can manage them, track your interaction with them, know where you are in the relationship with them, make sure that you can reach out to them, follow up, and never lose track of the whole relationship that you're going to build with all the investors and business angels that you're going to have for your fundraising. So let me share my screen with you, and we're going to jump into Folk. Okay, great. So within Folk, the first thing that you're going to be able to do is create a group, as you can see on the left here, a list where you're going to be able to centralize all the potential investors and business angels that you want to reach out to for your fundraising process. So you're going to have one central place that you can share with your team to make sure that you don't forget about anyone and that you can follow up on the whole relationship that you're going to start building with those investors. So the first thing is centralizing them in this list. For that, you have multiple ways of adding those investors to your list. First, of course, you're going to be able to prospect for potential investors on LinkedIn. And what's really great with Folk is that we have a Chrome extension that is going to help you add any LinkedIn profile in one click into your CRM so that you can keep track of this profile as a contact within your CRM. So let's take this example here. I'm going to add Philippe to my CRM because this is a potential investor that I'm really interested in. I'm going to add Philippe here in the investor list, as we just said. And once it's added, the contact is automatically created within Folk, where I'm going to get all the information from the LinkedIn profile. So job title, company, LinkedIn URL, and so on. And here I can add my own information as well. So for example, type is going to be VC fund because in this case, that's a VC. Status is going to be to contact because I want to reach out to them soon. And that's how I'm going to make sure I can keep track of all the relationship that I'm going to build with my investors. Once you've added your investors with info, what's going to be really important then is all the information that you're going to track on those investors. And what's really nice with Folk is that the tool is really flexible and you can customize it the way you want to make sure that you can keep track of all the relevant data on any contacts that you're going to manage within the tool. So as you can see here, I'm going to have my type of investor. So in that case, I'm going to have both business angels and VCs. I'm going to track, of course, the status of the relationship. Are we discussing? Do I need an intro? As Evan said before, is the round closed with them or not? And so on. Expertise, same again, as Evan said, it's really important to choose business angel with the right expertise because they're really going to help you with the whole round once they are business angels. So that's also important information that you can track within Folk. And again, here, I also added the wave so that I can start reaching out to those people in different batches so that I can test out my pitch deck and how I'm reaching out to those people. And then there is a bunch of information I can add, follow-up dates, ticket size, any icebreakers, anything like that can be really custom to your own needs and all the data that you want to track on those contacts. What's going to be really great as well with Folk is that on the profile of the investors that you're going to track, you're going to be able to follow up on all the past interaction that you've had with this contact. So we have a native integration with Gmail and Outlook so that you can sync your email with Folk. And this is going to automatically sync all your interactions on the contacts so that for Elan, for example, you're going to get to see all the different emails that you've exchanged with this person, also the events, call that you've had with them, if the pitch was sent, any important interaction that you need to follow up on at any time. You can also take some notes. So if you need to add any additional information on what they do, who they are, any calls that you have with them, you can centralize this here. And of course, if you need to create some reminders so that you make sure to remember to follow up with these investors, you can easily create those reminders and be notified thanks to Folk. What's going to be really great as well, once you've done that, you have your whole list of investors with all the different tags on them. You're going to be able as well to create different views that you can filter the way you want to see what is important to you and to be able to start targeting those investors to reach out to them. So let's say that we want to target business angel only. So we're going to apply a filter where we're going to look for business angels, and we want to reach out only to the people that are in tier 1, so that we can test out our pitch deck and see how it goes before we send it to everyone. So I'm going to go here, choose Wave is exactly tier 1, and I'm going to apply. So I'm going to get a list of only 3 people here, but that could be a bit more, of course, if you want to. And now what I want to do is that I want to reach out to those investors to send them a first email with the pitch deck and all the information to start building the relationship with them. So I'm going to click on message all here so that I can start my campaign that is going to be targeted to those 3 people from my filtered view. And what's going to be really powerful is that because you have a lot of information on those investors that is stored in Folk, you're going to be able to make this email extremely customized and personalized for each person in the list, so that you can have a very custom email for these 3 different investors that you're reaching out to. You can see here that I have a bunch of templates, and you're going to be able to add your different templates on the different step of your reaching out to those investors. And here, you're going to have access to the variables, as you can see here. So the data that you have within Folk, so that you can make this email really custom with the first name of the person, their company name, any important information. You can attach your deck, of course, if you need to attach some file, share numbers, anything that is important. Once I'm okay with my email, I'm going to go into the review step, as you can see here. And what's really great here is that, again, if I want to, on those individual emails that you see here on the left, I'm able to even more personalize them to make really the email very targeted and really personal to the investors that is going to receive it. So for example, if I met this one at an event, I can just add a quick note saying, I don't know, hope you're well since we last met at blah, blah, blah. And that's going to be really custom for this investor. And then I can do something different for this person, and then something different for this person. Once the email is sent, once the campaign is sent, again, here, you're going to have a bunch of analytics to understand the results of your campaign, so that you can know if the investors, they opened your email, they clicked on the links that you've shared with them, have they received the email, did their email bounce? So you're going to have a bunch of analytics to understand the results of the campaign. And from there, you can also easily follow up again with those investors. For example, if they didn't open your email, you can just go in the unread tab and then select all the people that didn't read your email, so that you can send them a new campaign to follow up and make sure that you're going to maximize the chances of having your email opened. So yeah, I think that's it for me on the Folk tool. So we can get back to, we can go to your demo, Evan.
And I will do it very quickly because I see the time running. But what is important, and again, Roundtable is really here, it's really complementary to Folk, because we managed to leverage that to do your tiered approach in terms of you reach out to the business angel. Roundtable here will really help you to manage the closing of your fundraising. It's important also to set up your Roundtable page at the very beginning of the roadshow, because it's a tool which will enable you to collect the commitments. And I would say let's really lock your investors, because the issue is if they say they would commit orally, at some point it's really soft commits. And when you will call them back 1 month or 2 months after, you will not anymore. They might have changed their mind. And so by setting up Roundtable, the idea is you create your own private page on Roundtable where you will be able to put all the documents, typically your pitch deck and all the different information you want to share with the different investors. So here again, that's part of your preparation. Also the information in terms of what are the financial conditions in which you are raising directly on your Roundtable page. And here, after, once you did your reach out, thanks to to folk, once you have some interest, you can start to invite people with their email directly, so they can access your Roundtable page to put their commitments. Or even in the reach out you are doing, you can share with them a link so they can ask access to your private page and see the different information. What is important is once they will access your page, they will see exactly the page you prepared here, except the black box, because the progression is only for you to track it. And if an investor is interested and you talk to them, for example, they will have to put their commitments here directly. And they can even select if they want to invest as a personal person or through one of their holding companies. Here, what is interesting is what we've seen in Roundtable is once people are putting their commitments, it's kind of a hard commit because they will not drop right after because they really feel engaged when they are doing that. You, as a founder, again, you will manage the end of your flow. You can see everybody who requested access to your page. So what is interesting is once you send the link, you can have some investors coming a bit from introduction of a bit from nowhere wanted to access the document. So you can reach out to them right after and put them back in folk. Then you can see everybody who looked at your company, at your at your deal page, and when they looked at it. And so here, that's also a good way to do an additional last mile follow-up, because if they looked at it in the last hour and they didn't commit, you can really track them and ask if they had any question to make them choose if they want to invest or not. After, you can see all the people who decided to commit in your round, and that's a good way to really see all the commitments. And once you have the full commitment of all the investors you wanted, you just have to close the deal. And that's where typically with Roundtable, we're gonna help you to consolidate the different investors within one investment vehicle to really keep your cap table clean, because as we were saying before, one of the biggest pain of having too many investors is the management of your cap table afterwards. So that's why with Roundtable, we will also enable you at the end to consolidate everybody in an investment vehicle, what we call an SPV. I see the time running, so that's why at the very beginning in the agenda I was saying if time allows, I can talk about what is an SPV. But on this one, I'm fully reachable and happy to jump in a quick call if you want me to give you more details about that.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Evan. We have a few questions. Let's take maybe 5 minutes to answer to them. I'm going to share this one first. That is for me. Sequences in folk. So that's a great question. So for now, when reaching out to people from folk with email campaign, these are only one-off campaign. You can easily follow up, but you can't make sequences yet. But that's definitely one of our priority in the roadmap, and definitely something we have in mind that we want to improve in the future to enable you to make the whole email sequence directly from folk. There is another one for me from Tina that is also very interesting, who is asking, if I don't get the email on the LinkedIn page, how can I get the email of the investors? I'm going to share my screen again really quickly to show you how you can do this. So basically, as you've seen, when we added Philippe from the LinkedIn extension, we didn't get the email because we're only scrapping the public information. So if the email is not public, that's not any information we are getting from the extension. But what's really great with Folk is that you can enrich this information directly from the tool by selecting the contact that you want to find the email for. Then click on Enrich. That's going to launch an enrichment on Drop Contact, another tool that we are integrated with. And that's going to potentially find the right email for this investor so that you can reach out to them just after. It's taking a little bit of time, but normally it should work on this one. Let's see. Anyway, so once the enrichment is done, the email will appear here, the right email, and then that's a great way of reaching out to the people once you get their email. I think this one is for you, Evan, from Alexis.
Can you sell a deck without knowing if you are going to choose equity or BSR? Yes, you can. But in terms of preparation, again, it's good to have at least a range in your mind. You can test it with some, the first wave you will, and you can try to test, I would say, some valuation and range of valuation. But again, the most clear you are at the very beginning, the easier it will be, because just think, even if you have a commitment and you are not yet clear if it's a BSR or an equity round, you will have to go back to all the investors who decided to commit to explain them that it's not like it's going to be equity or BSR. And you will maybe face some drop afterwards. So that's why the most you can think about it before, the better it is. If not, you can try it with the first one, and then after you just decide and be really directive during your roadshow.
Cool. I think that's it. Let me just have a look at the questions. I think we're good in terms of questions.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much, Julie and Folk, for hosting me, and to everybody to listen to this webinar. And really, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any follow-up questions. We are always happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Evan. It was a really pleasure to host you. Super interesting. And same, if you have any questions on Roundtable, investment, fundraising, Folk, just reach out to us on our LinkedIn. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.